Hello and good morning to everyone, or depending on where you are joining us from in the world. Good afternoon, good evening. It's good to have you all on call. This is Participatory Development Associates, and this is our first webinar for the year of 2025. We're happy to have you join us. We're very excited taking a look at the registration list. We saw that there are people from all over the world joining this call today. We have people from all over Ghana. I'm pretty sure we have representation from every region in Ghana. We have people from Zambia, from South Africa, from Nigeria, from even Ireland, Benin, Cameroon. We are super, super excited to have you all with us. And we were looking through some of the things that you shared, you were hoping to learn. There are about 5 of them, if I were to group them. First of all, a lot of people expressed interest that through this webinar, they are hoping to see really the importance and the criticality of early childhood education and literacy and its importance for setting children up for the rest of their lives. Some people also shared that they were interested in hearing about the issue of child protection and safety. I know that it's become a really topical issue in many schools across Africa and the globe for that matter. A third category of people also shared they really want to see the link between the two, which is why we are hosting such a webinar, the link between early childhood literacy or education and then its impact on child protection and safety. Some people are also interested in the practical implications of such a conversation, both in terms of strategies to outline and to use when you're actually in school, and then also the policy and program and advocacy implications of our conversation. And finally, some people are here to build their own personal capacity as people who work with children across various levels in diverse ways. It's a tall order, but I hope that by the end of our webinar today, just these 2 hours that we have together, we'll be able to deal with all of these issues. So if you are here already, do feel free to type in the chat box, share with us your name, where you're joining from, and let's all get to know each other as we share these 2 hours together. Just a couple of housekeeping rules. This is a webinar. We are using the Microsoft Teams platform. So you may or may not have access to some functions depending on the portion of the presentation that we've reached. While our main speakers are giving their presentations, we are trying to control the environment. So you may not have access to use your microphone or to, talk much, but you will be able to put any reactions or comments in the chat box. If questions come to you, you can also use our Q&A function within the Teams platform to be able to drop in your questions so that we can take a look at it and respond as and when necessary. For the purposes of keeping record of the important things that will be coming up today, we are going to be recording this meeting so that right after and possibly later by tomorrow, we'll be able to share a link to the recording with everybody who was on the call. You would also be free to share this with your networks. You reach out to them. If there's anyone you know who should be on this call, make sure that they log in and they are a part of us. With that brief introduction, I'd like to say hello to our speakers. Both of them are already on call. I see Tony. Hello, Tony. Good to have you. Tony is the Executive Director of Ghana. Hi, wonderful to have you. Thank you for being here with us. Tony is the Executive Director of Seba for Ghana, Seba Education, and he will be joining us to give the first presentation for the day. So Tony, we are so glad to have you. PDA loves having you because you are, one of our founders, our co-founders, and so very welcome to everybody on the call. I hand over the platform to you. Wonderful to meet you, all the people joining us. Janet, I see you. Margaret Reward. Yes. Abigail Quay from Farm Radio. Tony, your audience, please.
Good morning, everyone on the call. Good afternoon, as Aseda said, depending on where you're joining the call from. And Aseda, thanks for the introduction. It's real pleasure to share a few thoughts with you on the topic early childhood literacy as a foundation for child protection and empowerment. I'm going to focus more on the child protection side of the conversation. So I'm just going to share 4 points in my presentation, and I'm going to basically talk about the importance of demystifying literacy and also the importance of childhood literacy. And then also share some practical suggestions for early childhood education, especially the role of schools, parents, and families. And also then address some key challenges in early childhood education and literacy. So demystifying literacy. First and foremost, in the current world we are in, literacy, numeracy are non-negotiable tools for life, for which all children should be equipped. And so it's a bit worrying when we read that in Africa, almost 80% of children cannot read at age 10. It's very troubling. And as many people have said, it shows that we have a learning poverty and a big challenge for the future. Some of this is because we start literacy too late, because we think literacy is for the literate. So that makes a lot of non-literate parents cut themselves out of engaging their children in early literacy. It must begin right from an early age, as early as the child begins to learn the voice or the voices of significant people around him or her. The child already is beginning to hear and to listen and to make sense of his or her whole world and the people around him or her. This is why, for me, a program like the Cocoa Community Literacy Program or project should be extended to homes and to kindergarten level, and not just at the primary level. Part of the reason why literacy is a problem for many people is because we have reduced literacy to English or to reading just the word. But as Paulo Freire said, literacy is not only about reading the word, but also reading the world. That is the power of literacy. And we can begin that with a child by the parents, the family members, introducing literacy to him or her in the mother tongue through sounds, shapes, pictures of the world around that child. And as that child begins to notice familiarity between the pictures and the world around him or her, growing up, the child begins to be interested in books. Early childhood literacy is so important, and I'll just touch on 3 areas. Language development. In fact, some studies have suggested that an infant can learn up to 6 languages. In fact, I recently met the director for early child education, and she can speak almost 6 languages, and it's because of the exposure she had. It's just reading stories and talking to the child can already begin to introduce that child into the world of reading. Another point of the importance of early childhood literacy is talking, reading helps to develop the neuron in the child's brain. I chanced on this when my firstborn was only 3 months old. I had gone and I went and bought some roasted plantain and granules. And in those days, they wrapped them in newspapers. And after eating it, I turned over the newspaper, and it said precisely that the more you talk to children, to babies, the more the neurons connect. So I quickly write to my auntie who was taking care of our son that please talk to him. Ask him, is he hungry? What would he eat? Talk to him as if he's understanding you. Don't just make some noises because you think he's not hearing and understanding. And I felt that was so important discovery for me. And research shows that the amount of language input a baby receives through talking, reading, singing is crucial for shaping that child's brain. And this is why you will find in many societies, they have lullabies, they have songs that especially grandmothers who sing to children. Tu Govi, Baby Careful, and all that, those songs. And I think we are losing those things. All this help. Frequent stimulation through play, interaction, and learning experiences, again, strengthens neuron connections. And I had a personal experience in this where a niece of mine and the husband and the sister were around a young girl, their baby, called Kekeli. And we're all on their phones. And then when I entered the room, I said, hey, Kekeli, what are these adults doing around you? They're all busy on their phones. They are not talking to you. And all of a sudden, this girl came alive and was giggling. And the auntie said, hey, Kekeli, so you can, and I said, yes. She's active and she can react, but you're all busy on your phones. No one is engaging her. So stimulation is so important in keeping a child alive and in strengthening the neuron connections. This enhances cognitive abilities, problem-solving skills, and overall intelligence. Another importance of early childhood literacy is creativity and imagination. Pictures help children to increase their imaginative capabilities, to compose worlds and characters and stories in their own minds. And we adults feel it as well. When we're reading, we stop sometimes and we go into a whole world of imagination. And imagination does help in adaptiveness, flexibility, problem-solving skills, and resilience. Another important benefit is that children develop long life interests in reading with all attendant benefits. Once a child is introduced to the world of books, they never go back. They get absorbed in it. It's becoming more and more important. I was just reading a newspaper item a few days ago that Sweden is moving back to books, pens, and papers. These protect children from online exposure. Books can be a safe way for children to occupy their own time, attention without being prey to cyber threats and dangerous alternatives. A non-literate child is basically being excluded from today's world because how is that child, for instance, going to type in words to AI or do a search and therefore be able to access information and resources on digital platforms? But most importantly, reading, schools become a safe space for children and alternatives to working on the farm, stores, and markets, especially if the schools are fun, welcoming, and safe. I remember in 2008, when we started partnership with, in fact, 2004, started partnership with International Cocoa Initiative. And we're asking children about the safest place in the community from child labor. They pointed to the school. They said if they are in school, then the family do not have access to them to take them to the market or to take them to the farm. But the school must be welcoming. I'll touch on this later on. Some practical suggestions and the role of schools and parents. Seba Education takes early childhood education seriously. KG was introduced, kindergarten was introduced in Ghana in 2008. And Seba has been one organization that has stood by government to extend quality kindergarten across the country. And one way that Seba does it, which was agreed on by stakeholders in 2012, when government brought various stakeholders together to develop an operational plan for scaling quality kindergarten education across Ghana. Despite all the challenges, infrastructure, parental engagement, monitoring and assessment and so on, one thing all stakeholders agreed on was that the teacher was most important element in kindergarten. And so Seba trains kindergarten teachers, and not only the teachers, the head teachers and the whole ecosystem around the teacher in positive behavior management, play-based pedagogy, and the use of low-cost material to enrich classrooms and course content. And our technical team in Seba have been talking of unintentional learning. And I never really understood it till I went to a private school where we had done some of this training. And the proprietor, recognizing that the classroom was not fit for purpose, decided to build a whole new KG block. And the teachers had made their own teaching and learning materials and pasted it in the classroom. And these children, after break, had come, not even after break, while break was going on, had come to the classroom. And they were going around looking at the drawings, the pictures, and three of them went and stood behind numeracy poster and were shouting A, B, C, D, you know. And I thought, wow, they are not running around. They've come back to the classroom. Unfortunately, this time they were looking at the wrong poster and saying the wrong thing. So when the classroom is print rich and attractive, intentional learning goes on and children become curious and want to come to school. So teaching and learning materials can be developed that make learning fun, exciting, and stimulating for children. And schools can become an arena for child protection, as I said before, if the school is inviting, if it's welcoming, and if it is fun. Parents, right from birth, and the family in general, an older sibling, for instance, can engage children with picture books. I know, for instance, this is one area that Lively Minds has been working with parents on. The fact that a parent is non-literate doesn't mean a parent cannot take a child through picture books, describing shapes and objects and people in the mother tongue. We should encourage this more. We should demystify literacy. Literate parents, on their part, can read and have their children mimic the sounds after them. Parents, family members who are artistic can draw, use illustrations to accompany words, sing, and even dance to their child. Parents should learn how, and we all must take interest in understanding how children's brains work, how children's brains develop, so that we understand which activities we can engage children with. I was fortunate to just chance on this way back in 1996. Now, there are some challenges in early child education, and I just want to make a few suggestions. We are not exposing children early enough to literacy and education. as I've said a number of times, the process must start right from birth, not when the child is already 5 or 6 years old. It must start in their mother tongue, because by 3 years, the child is already picked up their mother tongue. We have a retrogressive situation now where many middle-class parents are speaking to children in foreign languages, especially in English. And this is also being copied by various other strata in society. We don't have enough materials in our local languages. So it's important that parents can read picture books to children in their local languages. We should also encourage the production of 2 language books. Again, teachers can do this by going around their communities and collecting stories. I remember when I first met my wife, she was in a remote part of Ghana at the time called Wa. And a group of teachers came together, a group of her and some teachers came together to form a group called Creative Teachers or something like that. And they went around the various communities collecting stories and then translating it into English and the local language, so that it can be used, that story book can be used both in the English and as well in the local language. And these are simple things we can do, not wait for publishing houses to come up with these things. We should engage and encourage non-literate parents and make them feel that they can read to their children through drawings, through sounds, and other avenues. The scale of the issue is big. So we need to partner communities and faith-based leaders, the churches, the mosques, to reach out to parents on the importance of early literacy and the importance of the reading to the children. And when you are reading to children, they are in the comfort of your space. They bond with you. Children love to be in the safe hands of adults, caring adults. And reading to them is one way to achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony, for that enlightening presentation. It's been very educative, and I especially love the anecdotes about the unintentional learning, where during their break periods, children can still even love the process of learning so much that they run back to the classroom. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your stories about the importance of early childhood education. And having said that, we want to hand over to Ms. Victoria Ampia. She is with PDA as a senior project officer, and she has been working with the Magic Libraries Foundation to implement the project we call the Cocoa Communities Library Project, being run in the Ashanti region of Ghana. Vic, we are happy to have you, and we want to hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Aseda. Thank you, Tony, for that insightful presentation. First of all, just enter into the Cocoa Community Library Project. Then I'll run through the key components of the project. Then I'll touch on some of the impact that the project has over the project period. Then I'll end with the PPLP connection to early childhood literacy, child protection, and empowerment. So when you talk of early childhood literacy, I mean, it goes beyond the ability to read and write. It also talk about building child's ability to communicate, think critically, and express themselves, to shape how they understand their world around them and navigate social and emotional experience. Despite numerous efforts by government, NGOs, development organizations, stakeholders, both at the community and the district level, to get children into school, there still exists great disparity between the proportion of children who are equipped with reading literacy skills. And with recent global statistics that assesses that or estimates that 40% of children are unable to master reading by the end of primary school. And with this statistic, it is even more concerning for people in developing countries like Ghana. When it comes to the Ashanti region, where the program is being implemented. In as much as the overall literacy rate for Ghana is 59.8%, the Ashanti region, especially the districts that have gone north, south, east, and have gone north, south, west, district, where we were, the literacy rate is 61.5% and 52.8% respectively, which is lower than the regional statistics. And in the distribution of male and female, you see that the rate of illiteracy, or the number of literate people in terms of male population is higher than that of female in both districts. According to the recent data on EDGAR, that is the early grade reading assessment, that was conducted in 2015. By the end of primary 2, we have 76.8% of public school pupils who struggle with foundational reading skills in both English and Ghanaian language instruction. Additionally, they are unable to also read with comprehension. We have only 2% of people who could read fluently with understanding. This report further reveals that between 54.5% and 92.8% of people score 0 in the oral passage reading test. While these figures are concerning or alarming for childhood literacy, especially in public schools, they also underscore the need for urgently address the growing reading literacy among primary school people in Ghana. As a result of the CDA in partnership with Magic Libraries Foundation, launched the Cocoa Community Library Project in 2023 to complement government efforts to improve reading literacy in rural communities, especially the cocoa growing communities, which unfortunately has become Galamsey communities now. That is the Ahafo North, South East, and Ahafo North, South West district in the Ashanti region of Ghana. The Cocoa Community Library Project is a transformative reading initiative that is aimed at improving reading literacy among children in 10 cocoa growing communities that have Ahafo North, South East, and Ahafo North, South West district. The 3 key objectives specifically is to ignite cocoa growing community interest in supporting children to read in the 2 target districts. Secondly, the aim was to promote a positive attitude towards reading among children using innovative approaches. And lastly, the aim of this project is to improve people's readability in cocoa growing communities to prevent them from dropping out of. The initiative started with initially a 2-year program that aimed to target 1,000 children for the 2-year period in 10 communities. The implementation approach that we adopted for this project is a school and community collaborative approach. Then a peer mentoring approach. So these 2 different approaches have worked really well in the communities that we implement this project. With the school and community collaboration approach, we leverage on a relationship between the Ghana Education Service and the community schools to run this project. We have reading facilitators who are from the community schools who double as facilitators of the reading class. And they meet once a week to participate in the weekly reading sessions in the community. The peer mentoring approach is also intended to develop new master readers who will then be paired with different sets of average readers. So for each reading club, we have master readers who have the ability to be able to read and comprehend and write. These children are identified, they are paired with struggling children in the community in the reading club, and they encourage them, they read together during reading sessions. They mentor them to also become master readers like them. Then the master readers, the new master readers are paired with struggling children again, or struggling our average readers, and they also then train them. So it's a cycle. The peer mentoring approach is a cycle to ensure that every child is able to, by the end of the project. The key components of the project include the renovation of 2 libraries, establishing community reading clubs, purchasing and distribution of storybooks. We also adopt the library in the box concept. With the renovation of the library for each of the districts, we have 5 schools, 5 reading clubs in each of the districts, 5 in the Ahafo North and 5 in the Ahafo North Southwest. For each of them, we renovated 1 community library, one located at the Shiade, and the second one located at Boatinko. So as you can see, this is before the library was renovated and after it was renovated. We gave it a facelift to make it conducive and exciting for children to be able to read. We have the second one that have one Southwest, located at Washington. That is the situation. We met the library, and this is how the library is looking now after CDA Magic Library intervention. We also have weekly reading sessions where every reading club in all the 10 communities meet at least once a week. The day for the meeting is subject to the patron or the facilitator and the reading club members. They decide which day will favor them. Some meet on Wednesday after school, others meet on Friday, Saturday, and even on Sunday. The library in a box concept is for the community or reading club without a renovated library. We want to ensure that every child within the project scope is able to read. So we call them mobile library. And we have selected or diverse collection of books from Ghanaian and African writers that are curated to the reading needs and interests of children. And this is also a response to the needs assessment recommend we conducted in 2023. We asked children what are the books that they would love to read, what interests them when it comes to reading. So we incorporated all these findings in purchasing the books that will ignite the interest of children towards reading. So all the 8 other communities that did not benefit from a renovated library have a library in the box, which they use during each of their reading sessions. Another component of the program is we have reading activities like the weekly reading sessions we talk about. So this is Aseda community that meet after school. They close from school, change, quickly get something to eat, and they come back and meet their patrons in the school premises, just in one classroom, and they have effective reading sessions. On the right, we also have a cluster library day that we organize. This is where we have the 5 schools in the district, Havana Southeast and Southwest, meet at the renovated library to have reading sessions together. It gives children opportunity to form friendship, to be inspired by their fellow colleagues and mates from other communities. It also gives the opportunity to visit the renovated library. We talk to them about how to conduct themselves at the library. For most of them, it is their first time visiting a library in any of their communities. So it's a very exciting initiative that's also part of what we do for TTLP. We also include reading competitions. We have the first level, which is the cluster level reading competition, where we have 5 schools from each of the cluster meets to compete for the first and second position. Then during the annual reading festival, we have the 2 winners, the first and second from each of the classes, meet at the annual reading festival to compete for the reading championship. This is a very exciting program that is very anticipated in the district that we work in, that every child wants to be part of some of these competitions. And we have the master readers who go on to become the contestant for each of the classes. On the left, we have a Kung Fu Reading Club winning the cluster level reading competition. Then as a parent, jubilating for their win on my right. Now I want to zoom into some of the impact of the Cocoa Community Reading Program. So the impact I'm going to talk about for the first 2 years period, that is 2023 and 2024, that implemented this program. The target was to reach 1,000 children, but by the end of the second year, first quarter, we had already exceeded the target of 1,000. We have more children joining every week to read in all the communities. We have more girls joining the reading club than boys, which is exciting for communities with girl child challenges and issues. Of course, it's a galante or illegal mining community. For us, it's very exciting to see more girls join the reading session. So on the average, you have 649 children joining the reading sessions in all 10 communities. The initial idea was to have at least 1 weekly reading session per reading club. However, due to the increasing numbers of children participating in the weekly reading session, some of the community reading clubs meet as much as 2 to 3 times a week so that they can cater for the different number of children that are coming for the reading club session. Based on the needs assessment that we conducted, we realized that children have 40% at the baseline were not able to read the sight word reading. So the method that we use for this, we leverage on EDGAR. We adapted the EDGAR subtask to evaluate children from the needs assessment. Then we did an end-line evaluation last year, December. So for smart read reading is for a child's ability to recognize frequently occurring words. And at the baseline level, we had about 40% of children being able to identify frequently occurring words. Even as much as class 6 and class JHS could not really read passages for class 4 and class 2 children. That was very concerning. But at the end line, we had as much as 95% of children able to identify frequently occurring words from the passages that they read. Then the non-word reading also goes with some of the sound identification, letter word identification. We had 47% at baseline who were able to successfully, at least on the average, be able to identify the non-word reading. But at the end of the first 2-year period, we had 91% of children that are able to identify the non-word reading within a period of 1 minute. Oral fluency reading was an area that we paid also particular attention to because children lacked confidence when it came to reading. Some of them, even when they could read, shied away from reading. But the baseline have 53% of children who are able to read fluently. But at the end line, we have 95% of children that have been able to improve their reading literacy and able to read confidently. Reading comprehension and listening comprehension, we saw that it was a challenge in the community. Children could listen to you read, but when you ask them what did you hear, and they'll just say, yeah, me see, and they really cool. They could just hear you reading, but they are not able to comprehend and understand what they are reading. You can have a child that is holding a book that has French and English, and the person is reading French, not knowing that what the person is reading is even French. These are some of the challenges that we encountered at the needs assessment stage. But now we have children who are able to read and comprehend and even answer questions from the passages that are being read. Their attention span is gradually improving. Children are able to listen attentively through the reading class session that we have. We have telling a story and storytelling sessions where one of the children volunteers to summarize what they have read. All these different components of the project help to sharpen children's listening skills, their attention span, and their ability to read and understand what is read. The second impact from the project is parents perception about the importance of reading has improved tremendously, increasing their involvement in supporting literacy at home. Some of the children, the parents did not really see the potential that the children had to read. You have parents who do not even know the classes that their children are, whether the child is in class 4, class 5, class 6. They do not know because they don't pay attention to that. But we have one parent who says that the parents have started appreciating the reading of books by their children at home, and gave an instance of a grandmother that now allows the child to freely join the reading class session because she has identified and come to the realization that the child has potential to improve his or her reading literacy. Children participation has been enhanced and their reading abilities and confidence will improve. When we started with the reading sessions, students shied away from taking up tasks like opening prayer or vote of thanks or leading friends, even in smaller groups. But as the competitions went on, from the onset, the first reading competition that went on, we had children who volunteered. Then as things progressed, we left even some of the participation duties to children to be able to build their confidence. At the reading club level, each reading club have exciting ways of igniting children's passion for reading, public speaking. So we have the confidence of children being boosted through the reading club session that we have. One child said, I used to be shy because I lacked confidence in class, and that affected my school attendance, but I'm now able to engage my colleagues in class. Another cited that at first my attendance in school was poor. I was laughed at any time I made a mistake in class, but now I have gained the confidence to contribute in class, so I attend school regularly. And it was evident in the impact evaluation stage that you could really tell which child has been part of the reading club and which child has not been part of the reading club. Whether they have spent 3 months, 1 month, 1 year, 2 years, you can already tell by one, their confidence, their ability to understand and speak back or communicate effectively. All these things are evident. The teachers in the various schools that the children even attend have affected to how impactful the progress has been to children's ability to communicate and also answer questions in class. Their reading abilities in class, especially academic performance, has even changed and improved. Children can attest to the fact that now some of them are able to get first position, second position, and this is enough encouragement for children to continue to attend the reading club sessions. Through the reading program that we have, or through the support of PDA Magic Library Foundation, children now have access to appealing reading materials, which is key driver for children's increased engagement. The reading materials were carefully selected. It is age appropriate, it's context specific. They are stories that children can easily relate to. Children are always excited to come to the reading club, to visit the library, to read and expand their knowledge. One child from Junyang Kwanta, which is one of our project communities, mentioned that before joining the reading club, I did not enjoy reading because I did not have storybooks to read. But now I love reading because I have access to reading books. We also have increased participation at the reading club level. When we started with about 30 children per group, some 20, 25 in some communities. But now we have as much as 100, 120. Even for a community like Asempana here, which has only one community school, we have children from different villages around that join the reading club session. So we can have as high as 200 children participate in weekly reading sessions for that particular community. Then with the peer mentoring approach that we adopted, we realized that it has really benefited children a lot. Because for the peer mentoring approach that we have, the master readers themselves have also benefited from not just being master readers, but seeing the change that is happening in the lives of their friends and their colleagues from the reading club. It has improved the reading abilities of children that we pair them with. They could readily tell that their friends are now able to read like them. They read better, their confidence has improved, and they are able to see their colleagues and friends in school who usually shy away from training school because they were not cool and they will be laughed at. And for master readers, we have about 70% saying that they feel happy that they are master readers, and it makes them proud. Every time that there's an event in the school, they are selected to represent their school because now they have become very good readers. They communicate effectively, they have the confidence to contest in different competitions that organized even within the district. Even at the household front, some of the children who belong to our reading class are getting preferential treatment now. They no longer send them to the farm like they used to because parents are now recognizing that children have potential to be better in the future. So they give them more time, reducing their house chores so that these children can focus on their academics. They see that the children themselves are serious and they are taking active decisions to improve their reading ability. So children are benefiting from being master readers and improving their reading abilities, even at the household level and at the school level. So early childhood literacy and empowerment. How has early childhood literacy empowered children in the community that we work in? This is just a picture of a boy who volunteered to lead a vote of thanks session and poetry recital at our event. When we started the program, we will not even within the class, we will not get a child that will volunteer to even lead the class to read or do anything. But we have about 150 audience for the reading festival. And to see a child volunteer to recite poems, to lead session, to facilitate or moderate the session, it's exciting to see. So these children are empowered such that they are able to identify and pick up on abuse that is meted out to them in the community. We work in mining communities where social violence is rampant. But because some of the children in the reading club read stories from the book about safety, about trust, about unsafe and uncomfortable areas, even with their bodies, and from the stories that they read, they are able to connect and to identify when they are unsafe. They know that visiting a Galamsey site is a dangerous one that they are not supposed to visit. And we have children who will not forego reading club sessions to join Galamsey activities. Just 2 weeks ago, we visited Kunsu Reading Club. They meet on Sunday after church. And the patron made me aware that because it was a sporting activities week, they decided that he proposed that they shouldn't meet because the children are tired for the sporting activities. But Wednesday, the very week that they were supposed to meet, the children brought a proposal that even though some of them may not be able to participate, the rest of them would want to come for the reading club session. So Sunday, we visited them in the reading club session, and we waited for them to trickle in one by one. And it was exciting to see some parents even escorting their children to come for the reading clubs after church. We have children who joined in their church clothes, they just grabbed some snacks and came for the reading club session. Some had gone for camping and other activities, but we still had about 30 to 35 children turning up for that particular reading session, which speaks volumes about how children even value their own literacy within the project communities that we work in. Early childhood literacy is also changing. It's also changing the perceptions of parents and community about childhood education, how important it is for children to be educated. We have one parent who cited that the child's school organized some open day, and he didn't even know the child was going to participate or even recite a poem. He, being a parent invited to the program, saw the daughter reciting a poem. And he said, since that day, Madam, I've never seen my child in the way I used to see her again. And this is very profound. It's a Muslim community where there are stigmatizations, there are perceptions about children not going to school and all that. So to see a father say this about a girl child in the community. Now the child is a library prefect for the libraries that we have innovated. Her reading abilities have improved. She does better academically in school. Her confidence has improved. And the father says, now I respect my child. That even at home, I do not speak to her anyhow because have come to us to tell us that her teachers, the district directors of education have seen the impact that the program or early childhood literacy have on communities such as the one working to help children stay in school, retain children in school, to increase their attention span and move on to be better people in future. Early childhood literacy also have the potential to empower children's decision making. Strong literacy skills foster critical thinking, which translates into making right decisions and taking actions to better their lives. When you visit other schools, you see children as young as in class 3 and in class 4, 5, 6 that are part of the Galamsey activities. Because when they go, they carry loads, almost one load, quote unquote. That is how they define it. So for the Galamsey communities, no matter your age, when you go there, you find something to do. But because the children are excited about the reading program and they have seen mentors, they've seen the patrons putting in effort to support them, and they've read stories about Tutu and the Talking Book, interesting stories about how children read and how children can improve and be better people in future. These stories create imagination, just like Tony said, create imagination of what is possible for children, even from such communities. So children are inspired to stay away from some of these activities and vices, but rather stay in school and knowing that reading in the reading clubs, bettering their academics, reading at home will bring them somewhere, will help them to pass their exams, move on to secondary schools, and even become teachers, nurses, MPs, directors, and development practitioners, as some of them want to become from the various meetings that we have. By promoting literacy from an early age, children are empowered to better understand their rights, boundaries, consent, and also recognize unsafe situations. When you move around the schools and the community, you see that some organizations have posters about child abuse, child labor. But if children are not able to read and understand what the flyers are about, how do they know or even identify when they arrive to being abused? This is very critical for us as an organization, that every child protection initiative or program or awareness creation, success depends on how children are able to also read and understand. Yes, you can do advocacy. There are flyers there, you are speaking to children, but do they understand what it means to be abused? What does abuse mean to children? How do they identify or recognize that I am in an unsafe place? So literacy or child protection runs in literacy. A child's ability to be able to recognize and even have the confidence and be assertive enough to even voice out to their parents, other stakeholders in the community that I feel unsafe or this and that is going on, I feel unsafe. It is very important for communities that we work in. What are some of the partnerships that we've explored or have helped to sustain the impact of CCLP? One of the partnerships that we are very happy about is our partnership with Ghana Education Service at the district level. In picture, you see the two directors of education, Mr. Gbeto and Mr. Kramo. Mr. Gbeto is the district director of education for Havana Southwest, and Mr. Kramo is the district director of education for Havana Southeast. From the very day we told them about the project, introduced the team to them, they bought into the idea of the program. And for every event that we have, they make sure they make time to be present. So this is the annual reading festival. It was a BEC period that they were so busy, but both of them still showed up with their dignitaries behind them to support the project. This has really made the parents, the children, the teachers, and the patrons recognize that we have a strong backing. Even if the directors of education are backing this project, it means it is something that is really important for them, and they've seen the impact of the program. And we have so many testimonies about how they have gone on to even have different competitions based on the inspiration that they got from the partnership that we have. So we are really grateful for such a partnership. Then we also have strong partnership with PTAs and SMCs. The past 3 years, we've leveraged on the PTA meetings to speak with the parents as well, just to get them to reduce some of the house chores of their children and support children reading ability. Yes, parents will tell you that because they are not able to read or they are not listening, that is why they are able to support their children. But we encourage them to at least sit with their children 30 minutes, 25 and 15 minutes. The child know that you are concerned about their reading abilities. Just listen while they read, whether they make mistakes or they don't make mistakes. You being present there means a lot for the children. And the children who have attested to the fact that when parents do that, it encourages them. So partnering with the PTAs and FMCs has really helped. We have a testimony from Working Pro community. When we renovated the library, there were no fans, even though they had windows, but due to the weather condition and changing climate, sometimes the place can be a bit hot. The SMC chairperson spoke with the PTA and they agreed to buy the fan. So this quote is from last year, December. That was when the SMC chairman said that they had agreed to buy the fan. We were there 2 weeks ago and we saw 2 fans in the library. This goes to show how committed the SMC and PTA are to even supporting children reading abilities. So we are also grateful to the PTA and SMCs in the various communities that we work in for partnering with PD and Magic Libraries to encourage children to read. Another partnership that we have been exploring and really hope to strengthen and deepen is the partnership with faith-based institutions. Tony touched on this in his presentation. So for the past 2 years, we had opportunity of using the church premises of the Church of Pentecost, Assemblies of God, and Deeper Life in the various communities that work. They give us free venue for us to have our reading competitions, training of patrons, and other activities at no cost. And we are very grateful for this partnership. Moving forward, due to some of the challenges we are encountering that I'll talk about later, we also want to partner or leverage on the different faith-based organization gatherings, the meeting, the church services, and the mosque attendance to speak with parents so that they will be able to buy into this idea of supporting children reading needs. Yes, a lot of parents are changing, the perception has changed, but we still have a long way to go to support children reading needs. Now, I want to touch on some of the challenges with partnerships. The major challenge that we are having is still with parents. In as much as we leverage on the PTA meetings, sometimes the very parents that we want to speak to, because their children are not coming for the reading sessions, students say that they have so much work to do at home. So by the time they finish house, they are tired. These very parents who do not permit children to come for the reading club are the parents that will not turn up for the PTA meeting. So you want to meet them at the PTA meetings, but they've already gone to funds. This has been a key challenge that we have been struggling with as an organization or as a program implementer. That is why I want to leverage on the faith-based organization so that when we don't meet them in PTA meetings, we meet them in church or at the mosque. Then we are able to sensitize and create awareness. We have some churches in the community that are already helping children with books. We had an example from Aseda, the Church of Pentecost, supporting children reading needs. So these are some of the organizations that we want to partner with to roll out the second phase and also to strengthen the relationship we have with the existing communities. Second one is the uniform attitude of some community leaders and the broader community members. There are some communities that are very sensitive to working because there's a divide between the communities because of chieftaincy issues. There are other communities that the community itself is not together. So when you bring initiatives like this, last 2 weeks we were in some communities to expand the program to 10 additional communities. And you visit the community, you will not even get one single person to speak to because everybody says, I'm busy, I'm going to the farm, I'm going here. Parents are so busy that sometimes it's difficult to even initiate any new program that will support children reading needs. So that's another challenge that we are hoping to overcome. But because we have good relationship with the GS directors and other key people at the district level, they've also helped us to mobilize and be able to do community entry in some of these communities. The lack of strong community bylaws protect children and encourage them to focus on their education. I believe now that the communities are becoming Galamsey communities with accompanying challenges for child protection, lack of bylaws, there's for more, I would say even for all the communities, they have not come to the realization that it is high time that they have some bylaws. Some teachers have tried to maybe punish children who go to Galamsey side if you miss school, if you go to the funeral to dance and all that. But there are some communities that the parents are still in support. Why would you want to punish my child because he or she went to dance here? So the community and the school are not together in some of the places that work in. Because of that, it has become a challenge because some children leave schools. The child who lost their life, unfortunately, left school. She was in school when she heard that some stay somewhere, so she wanted to also benefit from that and get some food and sell. She went there, and unfortunately, she was gunned down by the security man at post. If we keep on living like we usually live without any rules, any bylaws to protect children, this high rates of or the mass spread of illegal mining activities in communities are going to have very critical issues for children and child protection. There's even an emerging trend where children engaged in Galamsey activities have now become caretakers of the family, even breadwinners, because the Galamsey activities pay them some money. Parents and their siblings are beginning to rely on them for money and for income. And it's very sad to hear that a child as young as maybe 8, 9, 10, at the GHS level for some communities, you can find maybe about 5 or 6 in 10 boys who are already engaged in the Galamsey activity. And as we know, as the demand increases, they will also want to do more, dive deeper into the Galamsey to be able to get the money that their family is demanding. This is something that is very concerning for PDA and I believe budget libraries and all of you who are listening. If we are beginning to have this trend, there are other trends that are developing that have not come to light with children stopping school and engaging in logging. There are some of the communities that are not Galamsey communities yet, but in logging, in carrying load because they will tell you that my parent, I don't have a reading book because my parent has not bought one for me. And even if you tell them to buy for you, they'll tell you that because you are not academically, why should I waste my money? You would have stories about parents saying that they went to school, but they are now cocoa farmers. So why school has not benefited them in any way? So why should they support you, a child, to even go to school? This is very challenging for communities for us to work in. And to see children class 2, class 3 in their, muddy waters and all that going on Galamsey side because 1, they don't have anybody to motivate them. 2, when they bring their money, unfortunately, they don't even buy reading material. They get phones and buy other fancy things. So the money that they even get from the Galamsey activities or the parents get are not even invested in the child's welfare. Because even though it's a Galamsey community, you would expect that they'll at least be able to use some of the funds and the income generated to support children reading. But we are not seeing that happening in the communities. So to conclude my presentation, I would say that literacy is very key in child development. It's very key in child protection. That all organizations that want to protect children or to reduce child labor in communities should ride on early childhood literacy. Because in as much as we speak to parents, we give them income generating activity, the children themselves have to recognize the importance of reading and literacy for themselves to be able to stand up and decide not to engage in illegal mining and other vices. Aseda mentioned that, I mean, the holiday period, parents have a different idea about children being free. Once there is holiday, the 6 month period, when Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday was an opportune time for parents to exploit their children, to send them to the farm. When the community, we saw some of them left as early as 5, 6 o'clock, walk long journeys to the farm and come back around 3, 4 o'clock. The whole period was meant for farming and for engaging in other activities like the galamsey, logging and carrying of load. So I would emphasize the need for us to support children reading needs, the various communities that we work in. And we're also open for, I mean, how early literacy has worked in some of the communities that we work in, some of the challenges that we encountered. How have you been able to overcome some of these challenges? We are also open for your ideas on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you much more, Vic. We are so grateful for everything that you have shared. There's been so much information, and I believe that where you left off is a good place for me to start, that it's time for questions, comments, reactions now. And like Vic shared, we want to hear now from you. We know some of you on this call have been actively working either at the programming side or at the policy side, or sometimes in direct advocacy. You've been working with children in the areas of childhood education, in the areas of child protection, and we want to see and listen to some of your stories. So you can just raise your hand, and if we see it, we'll give you opportunity to unmute and to speak if you would so wish. But there have already been some contributions in the chat box, and you can also still feel free to bring yours on board. I do want to highlight a few of them that have come out already, though. I see that some people have drawn our attention to the need for sensitization, which is really critical, partly for non-literate parents, but also even for those who are about to become parents. Camille was suggesting that we target even pregnant women. We get them as they are at the hospitals, they are at clinics, they are doing their antenatal, meetings, that we get ready to start engaging them so that even before they give birth to the child, they are aware of their responsibility in helping to build the child's literacy. Now we have some questions. Tony, I hope you are still with us, because I want you to take the first stab at the first couple of questions that I see, even as people put themselves together. Tony, are you still with us?
Present, madam.
Thank you. So one of the first questions was asking whether you would recommend that GES changes its early childhood model to include the creches, nursery 1 and nursery 2, so that we can help to reduce the literacy gap, so that even before children get into kindergarten, they can begin, being exposed to the issues of literacy. I think someone else, somewhere else in the chat, was talking about GES again, and whether we can include more of, pretend and dramatic play, so that within the GES structure. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I would say if resources were available, okay, then government could look at expanding early childhood education to crèche, nursery, and so on. It's like I said, it's only in 2008 that government even agreed to include 2 years kindergarten into the mainstream education system. And even there are challenges in terms of infrastructure, the training of the teachers, and so on. So that would be the ideal. But again, we have some structural distance in Ghana where in terms of education, the 0 to 3 years are under the Ministry of Gender and Children and Social Protection, while 4 years and above are within the remit of the Ministry of Education. So yes, depending on how we look at it, could the gender ministry be supported to put in place more crèches and so on? But I think there can be, considering resource constraints, there can be innovative ways we can do this. I believe in mobilization. I believe in mobilizing existing resources and goodwill to overcome resource challenges. First and foremost, we could potentially leverage on workplace crèches and daycare centers, where organizations, big organizations, can put some of these things in place so that when their staff, complete their maternity leave, they can bring their children with them to these places. We have a lot of informal sector, or the economy is dominated by the informal sector. So many workplaces are more informal, like the marketplaces, the lorry stations, and so on. And I know there have been innovations and attempts by various organizations to again create some of these opportunities there so that nursing mothers and can go with their children, and then there is a carer who is looking after the children, and they can go back, go and see these children and be with them from time to time while they still go on with their economic activities. It's quite a complex area, but I think for me, the key thing we need to be getting across to many people in the country is that there is a lot we can do with our children right from birth, from the way we talk to them, laugh with them, sing with them, play with them. I'm in an apartment where a lady who has 3 children was telling me she finds it difficult to even dance with her children, even when they ask her, because she needs to create that barrier of she is the person who more or less gives the command in the home. So we have to try and reach parents and the family in general to have more of play-based activities and opportunities to engage with the young ones so that they can get that early. If we want even government GES to do anything in nursery and so on, it must be organized around communities. It must be community-based with the support of faith-based organizations, traditional leaders, and so on. So yes, we can look at these things, but first and foremost, it starts from the home. We need to empower the home. We need to empower the family to know that there's more they can do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. And I think that was a critical contribution. And Adam, I believe his question is probably tied to that. So I'm going to ask it. And then if you want to, clear your throat more on that issue, you can. But Adam was asking, how do we promote play-based functional literacy in community schools and low-fee private schools? I think that ties in very well with what you were saying about costs.
Yeah. But like I said also, it comes, when you talk of school, the most significant person there in the classroom is the teacher. And we need to, again, train the teachers on play-based pedagogy and positive behavior management. They need to take fear out of school. School must be a place of fun. Children must look forward to going to school. But then, though GS says yes, no corporal punishment, there has been very little training for teachers on positive behavior management, alternative behavior management. So we need to intensify that. And this is what Seba has been seeking to do to support government to do. And we are almost on that point where hopefully, government will get the funding to train all kindergarten teachers, all head teachers in basic schools, and the the CISOs and all these other actors who are supposed to support the teacher. So this hopefully will happen. Again, Seba has started this process of engaging low-fee private schools. We started about 3 years ago in Efutu, in Gomoa Central. We've done the pilot now of the model. We couldn't use the same model we use in private schools, in public schools with private schools. So we came up with a model in for private schools. And again, working with GES, working with the private school associations, we passed that in, I think, about 20. I'm terrible with numbers and figures, but I think it's about 20 something schools, 24, 25 schools. And now we're doing the same in 2 districts, in Ekwapim 3, Ekwapim North, Ekwapim South, and Okre district, where we are working with about 48 private, low-fee private schools to train not just the teachers, but the head teachers and the proprietors, because if they don't understand and appreciate the importance of play, okay, at this early stage of children's education, they will not make available the resources, they will not support the teachers. So this is an area we've started, and we've just even partnered with IDP Foundation to undertake this work, and also begin to also advocate for more support to low-fee private schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. There's another question that has been directed to you, but I want to give you a breather as I ask Vic. There's a question here which is directly to her about which age group did we see much improvement, or who responded very well to the CCLP project. They are asking about the age group. So yes, if you could answer that for us. And there's a second question that is referencing the report that was shared, whether there can be a breakdown of the 2% and the 76%, what they are doing right and what they are doing wrong. So yes, over to you, Vic. Thank you very much, Aseda. So for the age group of children that are responding to the program, because it's rural community, we deal more with classes than age group, because a child can be 8 years, but a child be in class 1, or even 15 years and be in class 4. So when you look at the lower and the upper primary, or in terms of the passion of children, how they presented their passion, the lower primary has responded more to that place than the upper primary. But when it comes to the improvement, it cuts across. We have children that are in assessment school will not read even a single word. And she was in class 2. Example is a child called Sewa, she's in class 2. But now she's in class 3 and she's able to read fluently. So it depends on the number of times or the frequency the child attends a reading class. So in terms of regarding passing, the lower primary has responded more than the upper primary. But in terms of improvement in academics, confidence level is from lower primary to upper primary. For our reading competition, is from primary 4 to primary 6. So we see that confidence play out in children in primary 4 to primary 6 than the lower. But for the reading class session, if you don't come early, you have children in the lower primary taking over the whole gate. Even for our cluster library in working home and a CRD, for instance, one great time, the children will run to the libraries where it's studying, they like to see the pictures. Yes, so in terms of the impact, I would say it depends, or different people or different groups respond to the different aspects of the program differently. But overall, I would say that it cuts across the different stages. All right. Thank you very much, Vic, for responding to that. Now, I'm going to hand over to Tony for the question that was addressed to him. But even before then, I want to give some homework to everyone on the call. There have been a strand of questions about how we can tailor early childhood education for children with special needs, children who have ADHD, children on the autistic spectrum, And I see even Christopher has just added, about children themselves, that, they have different learning styles and skills. Not all children are designed to learn in particular ways. So just some food for thought. After Tony answers his question, would open the floor again for people to share and to reflect, and perhaps share your experiences, if you've had any, on how to make sure that all this early childhood literacy we are talking about is of benefit to children with special needs as well. But before then, Tony, someone is asking whether multiple languages wouldn't actually become a barrier to effective learning and literacy at the early childhood stage. Specifically, he's giving the example the child is growing up with the mother tongue of Ga at home, but then in their early childhood education in the kindergarten, the facilitators or the tutors are using Akan or Ewe in the early days of learning. So maybe you can respond to that.
Yeah, thanks for that question. That is the challenge we have in a country like Ghana and many countries with multi-language, or multilingual. And this for me is where we need to really fashion out a situation where the child can be with the parents and with the family as long as possible. By age 2 to 3, children have already picked up the language that is being used at home. So once the child gets that, the child is then able to engage with other languages quickly. So for me, it's a big mistake. Now we have parents talking to the children in English. So for me, the way we can get around this, it's more engagement with children in the family where the mother tongue is being spoken by the significant others around that child. And the child picks it up quickly just by listening, just by observing, before you realize. I always ask people, whoever sat a child down to teach them the language of their mother tongue, they pick it up just that way. By age 3, they're already speaking the language. So for me, that is an important area we need to look at in redesigning how we go about this, which therefore means that we have to find community-based solutions to, for instance, if the parents have needs, they have to go to the farm. How do we organize, or the community organize itself so that they have a safe place for that child, and there are people who are speaking the local language of that community, and the child is picking up before the child goes to the formal school, kindergarten. The policy in Ghana is kindergarten up to P3 supposed to be the language, the local language that is more popular, or I'm not very good at explaining that. But then we have this situation where a teacher cannot speak the local language. What does he or she do? Resource to English. So this is where the role of the family, I can't just emphasize it more. And therefore, empowering parents and empowering family members, not just the parents, the siblings, the aunties, that look, when you have time, just take a picture book and start talking to the child and explaining and pointing, and let the child point to things and so on. It's very, very important. For me, I think that's one way we can get around this multi-language challenge. So I'll pause there, Aseda.
I also wanted you to pause, but Christopher doesn't. So he's asking a follow-up question. How do we go around this for a community like Accra, which is cosmopolitan and it's multilingual? So
again,
and still we are opening. Okay.
It comes back to the home, because the home, okay, if people are aware of how the child's brain works, okay, and are therefore intentional, okay, that I want my child to be grounded in this language, then, for instance, if the parents, maybe one is Akan, one is Gan, okay, they then have to make a conscious effort to speak one of these languages so that the child can be grounded in that language. So for me, I think it comes back to how we empower parents, families to know that they have a major role to play, okay, in the development, the early child education or literacy of the child. And this can be done, even sometimes I say, look, many of us go to funerals. We come back with all these sometimes glossy books, okay, and then we just throw them away. These are materials which can be used to gain just for the pictures, take the child through, and tell a story with the child, so in the local language. So I think for me, the family is very important in this area.
Thank you very much, Tony. The family, the community, the people who are around the child. So I do want to open the floor. I still want to make sure that everybody is engaged. And I know that we have people with all sorts of experiences on the call. If you could share about how do we make sure that children with special needs are engaged and are also benefiting? What are some of the strategies you've used or you've read of that are being used effectively in other places so that we can deal with them? There's one last question about school facilitators, how to rope them in. I think let Vic handle that one. How have you been engaging the teachers and school facilitators? Okay, so for beginning of the reading section, some of them came by recommendations by the community head teachers. So it speaks volumes about the work that they are already doing in the community, and the head teachers trust that they will deliver. After engaging with them, we train the facilitators. I want to emphasize that this is the voluntary duty and responsibilities that the facilitators do. They are not paid for it. So we are really appreciative of the reading patrons and how they really support the reading session. Once we present the idea to them, already they are teachers working within the various communities. We train them to participate in the reading session. We have a platform that we engage with them periodically. They then have benefited from different trainings and engagement that is helping with their facilitation skills as teachers, positioning them as leaders and mentors in the various communities. So all of them are people who genuinely are interested in children reading abilities. One. And secondly, once they begin to see the impact of their project and how the project is being implemented in the community, they realize that we need business, we are serious about that. And they thrive on the impact, the visible impact that they see in the children of the reading club that are also part of the school. So that has really motivated the reading patrons and the facilitators to keep on engaging with the project. I want to add that we are expanding to 10 additional communities. And even during the vacations that we're not going around shopping because school were on vacation, the reading class still ran effectively and smoothly whilst the patrons participated in the reading session. So for sustainability wise, the patrons are brought into the program, and with the support of the GES directors who also encourage them and motivate them, they have really worked hard and bought into the idea of the program. Thank you.
Aseda, if I can add quickly to that, again, in PDA, as I've said, we recognize teachers are very important in the education system, the formal education system. But we also realize that without the support of the head teacher, without the support of the district team, okay, especially when you are trying to move teachers and the system from the root learning to more of a play-based, child-centered learning. If you don't get all these actors understanding the change in the curriculum, the standard-based curriculum, which is more around themes and strands and play-based methodology, it's too big a shift for the teacher, So they need all that support system to be able to go with that change, because we all brought up in a certain way. More usually not so much play the root learning. So it takes time to really make that change. So they are very, very important. And that change needs to go side by side also with parental attitude and change. Because for many parents, it's when their children are able to speak Kontombe English, then they think that the child is learning. Okay. And we need to, in fact, I was lucky to be introduced to a concept called multiple intelligence. I think somebody made a comment earlier that children learn differently. Okay. And the whole concept of multiple intelligence, that some children learn through music, some learn through art, some learn through logic, maths, and so on, and by identifying and by introducing all these areas to a child, gradually they begin to find their way into literacy, into education, And so if a child learns through music, you can then bring in English or bring in the language, bring in literacy through the music. If it is sports, the same way. There are ways that becomes the entry point for the child. But we lump all children together. We have many schools without fields, playgrounds, and the children are just in the classroom all the time. And so there are things we can do differently. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. And this has been such a great conversation.
And I said, if people Google
Okay.
multiple intelligence, if people Google multiple intelligence, I'm sure they can find more about that. The interesting concept.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I agree very much with that. So you can Google multiple intelligences, and that will also give some further thoughts. This has been such an insightful conversation. We have just about 15 minutes left to go. We have our MD on the call, Mr. Edem Agbe, and I really don't want the call to end without his comments. So I want to hand over to him. I see there's one other question in the chat box about how, I think we've addressed the one about multiple languages confusing children in early childhood. But I think the one that is quite pressing is the one about how there's so much on the desk of children these days. We have regular class hours, extra classes, extra classes, weekend classes, home classes, and each of them with assignments and homework. How can their mind and...
Yeah. Can I respond to that? I like that question very much. Again, it comes to the way we have structured our education system. It's more oriented to exams, to passing exams. So you can get into grade A secondary school and things like that. Even in some private schools, they get the children, if the child is in class 2, the child is learning class 3 syllabus. And yes, we are stressing the children. But for instance, when we were in Kumasi, we refused to have our children go for extra classes, which was being organized in the school. And we mobilized some parents and we came together and started, and we agreed to pay for some other people to come, because so that you need the children in the school after the closing hours, because parents are still working. So they need to be engaged, but not going back to the same content we're learning in the classroom. So we mobilized, we're able to get parents to contribute, some parents to contribute to some after class curriculum, extra curriculum, music, basketball, football, coaches and so on, who were supporting these children in these other areas. And then we moved that into what we call creative holiday schools during the holidays. And parents were paying for their children to just come and learn and have fun, but not in the usual method. So it comes back to how we understand education as opening the world for the child, rather than just cramming in order to pass exam. So I think there's, again, a lot we have to do on that. And in this 21st century, it's not about how much a child can cram, because AI is doing a lot of that. It's about creativity, confidence, curiosity to explore. And that's where, again, we need to get parents to understand the changing world. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Tony. I couldn't agree more with you. I mean, in urban centers especially, children are so overburdened with so many classes. But based on just experience from the reading program that we are running, we tell that once the child is able to read, this particular skill translates into every aspect of their life. if they are able to be good readers and comprehend and write, and will be able to answer math and science questions. So it's not really about the number of hours of engagement. Again, because the reading club session is different from how the classroom setting is, I believe that is one of the reasons why children are happy. They'll tell you that here, because we are not changed, here nobody shouts at us. So they feel very free and confident to read. Unlike the school system where the children read more in school than they read at home. Because in school they will be forced to read. In school, they will not even go to school because when there's dictation, you'll be caned and you'll be lagged. But a reading club session, there's no punishment. And during our cluster library days, we do artwork, we do paperwork, craft work, and this also helps explore the other creative abilities of children. So children are able to draw their favorite characters in the book that they have read and tell us why they like those characters. We give children opportunity to do different other things that is still connected to reading, but exploring other creative aspects of themselves. So I really agree with you. It's not just about the number of long hours to children in extra classes, but the quality and how diverse it is to address the child's individual needs. Thank you.
Thank you for adding that up to us, Vic. All right, Edem, over to you.
Thank you very much, Aseda, and our resource persons, Tony and Victoria, for this insightful conversation, and to everyone else who participated, the questions and everything. Just listening through, I tried to create a simple artistic summary of the conversation, and I have something here drawn on paper, just I can show, but as the early childhood literacy for protection empowerment for children is literally an interplay of home, community, and schools. Where at home with parents, elderly siblings, and others, that is the first port of call for literacy facilitation at home with using the L1 and other play-based methods. And I think as parents, we are being called on to make sure we are able to be in the world of children as well and get that involving, whether we are in urban or rural communities. Then at the community level, that is to create that community ownership, particularly for our community schools and also the low-fee private schools and other schools within, where we do that through mainly the local assemblies, the district, the SMCs, PTA. So parents again and the home are having a strong interplay there because the home is just a unit within the community. Children actually feel they're using to our resource persons. You realize that children indeed want to learn, and their ability to learn is based on the kind of opportunities that are presented to them. And so if the home and the community are able to have that understanding to fashion functioning as a submission has a lot to do with not just the teachers understanding and owning the process, but also the head teachers and also the education directorate as well. But what seems to be a challenge, the children are just prepared from the beginning for exam, because someone should we allow children to start to write, or if they are not able to, parents should get worried. And I was telling the person that they're supposed to just learn through play, and when they get to where they would try, but because like everything is tailored towards that, and then we have literacy bit of it and also empowerment and protection as well. But if we are able to intentional as practitioners on this call to be combining these participatory play-based methods and advocating for them, we are definitely going to have very empowered children who would be able to be curious, to inquire, and then also try to solve problems, because we are using a lot of functional literacy approaches, play-based at the early level. What we also need to do, which was one of the asks, is about how do we ensure left behind in all these processes, and how do we adapt some of these inclusive processes, practices at the community level as well, so that these children are not hidden, but they are also allowed to come out and then participate in the process. And we believe that this is just a start for us for conversations that will be focused more on early childhood development, focused on child protection, safeguarding them in schools, in communities, and how do we create curious children who look at how to solve problems, how to be able to address situations that they are facing, and how to be able to think critically and not just prepare their minds for exams, as currently we have our system being tailored to. So thanks to all the resource persons and participants here. We'll continue to call on you because we want to create that platform to continue to share knowledge, experiences, best practices, and how well we can facilitate the change in policy and programming around these areas. Thank you very much, Aseda, and over to you.
Thank you as well, Edem, and thank you once again to everybody who has joined us on the call. I know that a number of people weren't able to join in, but they emailed me letting me know that they would still be interested in the recording. So yes, we will make sure to share the recordings with everyone, especially those who registered, because then we would have your emails. We will also encourage you to follow us on social media. Check out our website at pdaghana.com, and on social media, if you search Participatory Development Associates, you will find us on Facebook, on YouTube. If you search for PDA TV, you will find us. I think we will share those links as well in the emails that are coming your way. Thank you all. Thank you especially Tony. Thank you especially Vic. And thank you very much, Edem. Have a wonderful rest of day. We look forward to engaging you in our next webinar. Bye.
Bye. Thanks everyone for your great contributions. Thanks. Bye.